Hey everyone, Eric here. In this video, we're checking out the Doomcaster, the Fuzzcoven, and the Hypercoven from Does It Doom. Hey everyone, Eric here. Welcome to the channel where I make gear demos and instructional videos aimed to help musicians like you. Before we get into these pedals, I want to send a huge thank you to my supporters over on Patreon. Y'all are my Patreon fam. I really appreciate you and I cannot thank you enough. So let's go ahead and get into these pedals from Does It Doom. My buddy Steve Reese over at Does It Doom has put out these 3 pedals in his line. Now, if you're not familiar with Steve and Does It Doom, they have a YouTube channel where he teaches, Steve has a YouTube channel where he teaches guitar lessons for sludge, drone, doom, all of the heavy music. He teaches you how to play those riffs and all those cool songs. He also has a new line of pedals. We have the Doomcaster, the Hypercoven, and the Fuzzcoven. All 3 pedals are different and they do different things. So let's go ahead and get into the Doomcaster first. The Doomcaster is a very full frequency, like transparent MOSFET boost. We can take our clean signal, turn the pedal on, the frequencies that you put in the pedal come out of the pedal just louder or quieter, because one thing that it can do is be an attenuator of sorts. So we can have our, normal clean signal. Let's say this is the sound that we want. We can also choose to attenuate our signal by going a little bit lower than noon. And now when we step on the Doomcaster, it actually attenuates our signal down a little bit to give us maybe a cleaner sound or, just a quieter sound. That's a pretty simplistic use of it. Sometimes if you have drive pedals down the rest of your chain, you can use that as like a clean, dirty sound in that respect if you want to cut your signal a little bit. You can also use it to just boost the heck out of other pedals down your chain or your amp, which right now, let's go over the setup real quick. We're using my Revolta Mondata tuned to B standard. We're going to the Doomcaster, Hypercoven, then Fuzzcoven, and then we're going out of those pedals into my Rocket Retro Super Lead right here, set pretty clean. There's a clean sound. So that's the Doomcaster. All of these pedals, as you can see on the screen here, are 1 knob pedals. They're really simplistic. They were made to be easy to use, simple to understand, and they all look great. So moving on from the Doomcaster, we have the Hypercoven. Now the Hypercoven is an analog octave up. It's that like green ringer, kind of Octavia style octave up, but it's an analog octave up that can give you kind of like some grindy and like dissonant octaves. And in similar fashion, we have 1 knob, and on the Hypercoven, that's a blend knob. So if we turn it all the way down, we only get clean signal. And as we turn the blend up, we start to blend in that upper octave. So here's a clean. So you can hear that's a really gnarly sounding, like kind of grindy upper octave. And one thing that I like to do to make a more pronounced octave when using pedals like the Hypercoven is actually flip to the neck pickup on my guitar, and I'm gonna roll the tone down so we get a really dark sound. And doing this gives you like all low frequencies, and it interacts with this type of circuit really well, especially when playing like up towards the 12th fret. I'm not getting as much sustain as I would like. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to kick on the Doomcaster, which is taking my guitar signal, amplifying it into the front of the Hypercoven. That's a pretty gnarly sound right there. I really dig that. So that's the Doomcaster into the Hypercoven boosting the signal, but we're also using the neck humbucker with the tone rolled all the way off. So it's a really dark sound. Moving on from the Hypercoven, which is the analog octave up, Doomcaster is the boost, we're now onto the Fuzzcoven, which is kind of in the vein of like a fuzz face. It's a really simple, saturated fuzz, and our one control is output volume. So here's a clean signal. We're back on the bridge position. Really saturated, really full sounding, and really fuzzy. The fact that the Fuzzcoven is based on the topology, the structure of the fuzz face, gives it that really interactive sound and, you know, tendency with your volume knob, which means we can go from something like this fully saturated to a clean sound, really sparkly clean sound. Just by rolling down our volume knob. Just with the volume knob, you can make a simple pedal like the Fuzzcoven react in different ways, even without having to touch the volume knob on the Fuzzcoven. So in this next clip, I want to take the Hypercoven and I want to run it into the Fuzzcoven. Now this is going to give us the upper octave going into the fuzz, and what I actually want to do is I want to A-B that with using the Hypercoven before it and then using the Hypercoven after it, because we get, you know, similar sounds, but they are ever so slightly different. So here is the Hypercoven into the Fuzzcoven. And now we switched it to be the Fuzzcoven into the Hypercoven. Same settings, we're just switching the order of the octave and the fuzz. Okay, so I just thought of another use for the Doomcaster in similar fashion to what I was talking about before, where you can attenuate the signal. Let's say you wanted this tone right here to be your sound for a song or a band, like. And you wanted a clean sound as well as a distorted sound, we can use the Doomcaster and set it low like we have here. Once you kick that on, that's gonna attenuate your signal going into the Fuzzcoven, which has that reactive, you know, it's really dynamic with your volume response. You can get a clean sound without having to roll your volume down. So let's demonstrate. That could be a use for the Doomcaster. Again, maybe not a typical use, but it could work like that. It works really well for it, actually. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Doomcaster, the Hypercoven, and the Fuzzcoven from Does It Doom. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, check out all the other gear demos and instructional videos I have here. And if you'd like to interact with me a little bit more, follow me on a daily basis, you can hit me up over on Instagram, that's @EricMerrow. Before I get out of here, I want to send a huge thank you again to these folks right over here who are my executive producers and my supporters on Patreon. Y'all are my Patreon fam. I'm gonna keep saying thank you because I appreciate you so much. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I will talk to you in the next video.